Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.
Hello there. Welcome to Insights and Straight Talk. My name is Cliff Tour. I am a podcaster. I have a show called Zoomed In. It is part of my channel called Candid Conversations, Zoomed In and Comments video channel. And we're doing a collab today on Straight Talk, talking about the middle class. We're going to bring in Rod in a second, and we're going to shoot the breeze here, talk a little bit about what the middle class is all about. And I hope that you have lots of questions for me about my show, about the topic that we're going to talk about. I think this is a really cool subject matter to talk about because there's such a focus on the middle class these days and what they are, who they are, what it's all about. And there's been some real talk about trying to grow the middle class. So I'm going to bring in Rod here because he, of course, he's the master of ceremony. But again, we're doing this collab. Rod, hey, thanks for letting me join in and co-host here with you here.
Yeah, well, no, you keep trying to go the co-way, and I'm going to take the answer a question. Yeah, we'll go back. This collab we were talking about in the green room is actually an awesome idea. Let's just kind of have that conversation, throw it back and forth.
Yeah.
We've already got 4 people on. Probably in the next couple of minutes, we'll start playing around where those questions are going. So shoot, my brother, how you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. You know, so that's the one thing I saw your profile, and I looked and I said, this looks interesting. The middle class. Let's talk about the middle class and what your idea or who you think the middle class are, and dive into this because I recently did an article on my blog, one-on-one Candid Conversations at blogspot.com, and
that's on your blogspot.com. Blogspot.com.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's on there, and I asked the question, or basically dived into the question of, are we paying too much attention? Is this misguided with regards to the middle class? How much importance do we place on the middle class and the mega rich? So my question is who do you think, Rod, are the middle class? So who are these people that we're aiming so much attention to at all kinds of levels?
Yeah. So great question. Let's define the middle class. So the middle class, well, first of all, let's do, if you don't mind, let me broad brush and work my way in, if you don't mind at all.
Not at all.
Excellent. We talk about all the subjects of the great middle class, and the great middle class is the backbone of America. You talked about the ultra wealthy. So that's the 1%. On this show, we call it the elite, who have a lot more access, just everything, technology, information, health, it goes on and on. So as I drill down a little bit more, the great middle class is the other 90, not totally the 99%, but it's certainly it's the doctors, the housewives, the men, the people of the United States, and by extension of the world. It's the people that build the stuff, and a lot of those people are also visionaries. But the ones you're talking about are either money that's been made already and passed on, or ultra visionaries. So down that way a little bit, the great middle class is the working class.
The working class. Yeah. I have to admit, I'm a paycheck to paycheck kind of guy. I live paycheck to paycheck. I remember one person saying, "You'll never make the middle class. You'll never get there. You'll just be a working poor guy." I was like, okay, that was really a slap in the face. But
have a good day.
Going this way and that way. It kind of like freaked me out a little bit. But even at, like, you look at what's going on in the world, particularly in Canada, US, and you look at what's happening with housing. And the funny thing is that we just had an election. Our Prime Minister is Mark Carney, and he was talking about housing, and we got to build houses. Great, but what about the renters? What about the people that are not able to buy a $200,000 home or $1 million home, which is particularly in some of the markets here, like Toronto and Vancouver, it's gotten stupid. I mean, you want a nice 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom bungalow, you're looking at, $7 million or, $3 million or $2 million. And most people just can't get into this. So do you think the middle class is, I don't know what's the way of putting it. Do you think the middle class is being priced out because of what the economy is doing?
Yes, and then no. And then maybe back to yes again. So yeah, they're being priced out. This is our kids, at least my kids' generation, that next generation, the generation that follows behind the parents, is going to be the first generation that is going to be less better off. It's going to be poorer than their parents were. The American dream, and I assume it's the same thing. We're all in North America here, but I'm guessing it's pretty much the same thing. At least in America, I don't know the data for Canada, but here, this generation now, fortunately, a lot of kids, my kid, they're able to squeak in, but you got to be at the very higher end. The average middle class or working class, like me and you, are not being able to outpace the cost of living and the price of housing.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. I mean, like
Huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to the point now where people are doubling up and renting out their rooms. We see the Airbnbs, but they also see people just in apartment buildings saying, shh, I'll let you rent my room, and you can pay me a little money to pay the rent, and so on and so on. That's the way it goes. How important do you think the middle class is? Do you think it's
critical?
It's critical. Do you think it's that? What about, because we talk about, of course, the elites, and everybody thinks that they're the ones that are the critical people to look at, but it's really, I think in your mind, it's really the middle class, right?
It's both. So, as a matter of fact, we were just talking about this a couple of days ago on an episode, and I liken it to a business. So in a business, the owner or the upper management they're either the visionary and or also the one keeping everybody on that mission, on that vision. They're the upper class, right? In society, they're the visionaries. Then there's super elites that are real big visionaries, and those are some real special people that we're fortunate enough to be around. But the workers are the one doing the work. It's the backbone, the ones swinging hammers, the ones creating schedules and making sales calls. Those are the ones that drive that. And they get paid for it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong here. But like the great middle class, we're the ones that are driving all that forward. We always have. I just have a problem with how we are doing it, in that our founding fathers never gave us, they did give us the tools to become more important. You said there's a lot of attention being paid to the great middle class these days. And then you said right after that, we had an election, and that's exactly it. We don't ever get any attention from the leadership. We got some questions coming in until it's a politician's whole role is to what do you call it, fundraise. That's their whole role. And then when that goes by, when that goes by, what are they doing for us? Same as you. What is the leadership of your company, your country? What are they doing for you? Nothing. I mean, they keep the roads, they do the stuff that a really bad boss would do, just enough. And meanwhile, they're sticking money in their left and right pocket. So that was a long answer. Did I get any of it?
Yeah, no, I think
Did I answer any of your question?
Yeah. I mean, that definitely makes sense. I mean, even when we go down even further into those that are considered to be poor, below the poverty line, we see what's going on.
There shouldn't be anybody under the poverty line in this country. Nobody.
No, and then the same thing here in Canada. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And yet we have people living in tents and parks. I mean, and people get really upset, and they have that NIMBY attitude, the not in my backyard deal. And it's just like, well, I mean, we all kind of contributed to this, in my opinion, by not basically expanding wealth and maybe sharing a little bit of it. And we see, like, as you pointed out, the elites. I mean, these days, I have to admit, I don't get Elon Musk, and I don't really want to get him. I don't care to get him because this guy's so filthy rich. It's like you don't even have a clue about, as you point out, the great middle class or even the poor.
Does he?
You have no clue.
Hold on. You sure about that?
I think
this isn't a debate. No, the reason I bring that up, there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, we can go in many different directions, and I'm going to start putting some of these questions up. Clayton wants you to ask me, how did I take this path in life and all that good stuff. But just on this point, this is something that kind of it is difficult for me to not defend because of what you said. And going back to the founding fathers of this country, they came from England. They were all the elites that were working on it. I mean, everybody else came, but it was the elites that put this together. They wanted people to come from the fields, to come from the doctor's offices, to come from the landlord job they do, or little business printing press that they do. Come, serve their time, give back to the country that has given them everything. They set that up. Democratic Republic. But you know what? We're do people cuss around you at all?
Okay, I cuss. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that all the time. In my job as a call center guy, I hear that.
You know what? As a what? Oh, event caller?
I mean,
we fucked it up.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get to. We're not doing our job. You talk about spreading the wealth. What we need to do is get the right people in. Whether you're conservative or either way, doesn't matter. If your neighbors have 2 kids and you have 2 kids, or whatever, you have a family, you have all the same concerns. That's the middle class. You talked about living check to check. So it's ridiculous how many people live check to check, and yet taxes and bills and impositions are put on just to pull basically everything out of, we're by far the richest and most advanced nation that's ever been. And so all the people leading us are going, damn, this is easy, man. I'm just gonna bankroll for as long as I can and then bail, because nobody is ever held accountable. Got to get the right people in. That's how you share wealth. And I think when that happens, there will be nobody under the poverty line. There'll be people who need help. There's stuff. But you want to see a different America? Vote the right people in. Not Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. The people, vote the right people in. And to answer Clayton's, that's what inspired me to take this path in life. There's a lot more to that, but I'm stealing your thunder, brother. You can see the comments right there on the screen, can't you?
I can see some of the comments. Yeah, they're kind of lower there.
Little, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just added that. So here's one you should look at.
Well, definitely
bigger.
we can follow up episodes. That's the whole point of what we do with Candid Conversations is that it's telling the story of people, and that's the whole point. Is learning a bit about Rod, and also sharing the story on our channel, which is found at Candid Conversations Zoomed In and Comments video channel. You can look us up on YouTube, and you'll see the different interviews we do. So my scope is basically talking to guys like Rod and trying to get an understanding. And sure, while I feel that Elon Musk is like, I'm just going to bankroll myself, I do agree that there's some really great politicians out there. I want to state that clearly. I do think that there are really great people trying to make this work. It's just like you said, Rod, we got to get the right people in the seat, basically driving this. That's, because that's I think what's key and important. With regard to all of this, how do you think the middle class is handling the Trump tariffs? How do you think they're dealing with that?
Yeah. So honestly, the only people dealing with it are the media, one way or the other. Look, we've had tariffs since the very beginning. When this country was founded, we've tariffed everything. Per capita, we were never more wealthy as a country than then, but we had to because we had nothing. So anytime somebody took our grains, there were tariffs on anything that came in, and created a great deal of wealth for the country. Different scenario, so let's not lean on that. I hear a lot about the tariffs, and I also hear a lot of those countries coming to make deals with our administration, because there's this really funny comedian, Cat. Cat, I forget his last name, but he's hilarious. But he says, "Hey, I was asked once, presidents, are supposed to stick around. They're supposed," and he goes, "Not our president. He's up at 3 a.m. doing tax and writing bills, and not afraid of going after it." That's what we need in leadership, not crookedly. And look, they talk about the billionaires. Every one of them are. They weren't when they came in, but they are now. These two guys were billionaires before and coming in to clean up all the shit. And there's a lot of it. The whole Doge thing, people are upset at them. One, because they're going to fix it. I mean, look at how much waste we waste. This country wastes my money. Your country wastes your money on bullshit. Anyway, I'm not political, but I'm angry at the way this country's treating itself. How about that?
I mean, I remember years ago seeing something about that here in Canada, where somebody paid something like $200,000 for pink flamingos on their lawn. And I was like, what? That came out of the taxpayers' wallet. And it's just like, why? Or when I see some politician going out to some hotel and they're paying for $200 dinners, why? Why can't you just go to McDonald's?
Yeah, you can even add on to that. What about the $350 million to do research on trans-American Indonesian people? How study that? Why?
Yeah, why would we doing that? Yeah,
time after time. We're talking trillions of dollars a year or more.
Mm-hmm. And so
ridiculous, stupid things.
Yeah, and I guess that's what's pissing off the middle class is the idea that this is happening, and I can understand why. And yes, thank you for the compliment regarding our work here. That's the whole point of it, and to deliver gems and to deliver some really cool content here that basically hopefully will get you to think, because I think there is a need to place importance on the elites and also on the middle class as well as the poor. We need to look at all three levels. I think that's just my opinion. But how long have you been doing this, Rod? How long have you been talking to people and getting them engaged with this kind of topic?
specific to what we're doing here now. Yeah, so a little background. I always love talking about myself, so thank you for the question. um, that's also a two-part kind of question. So I'm a writer. I about a year and a half ago, and I wound down my machinery building business for a lot of reasons, and then finally a couple of months back, I canceled the last contracts, and just had enough for a little bit of savings to switch over to do this. And the reason I started doing this because I wrote a book, and when I started to query that book about the middle class, I realized I need to have a following, a base, this kind of thing, that because they need you to be able to sell yourself, right? I mean, it makes sense. So I started this. Why I started the book was because it started out because I was just mad at some real bad stuff had happened to me. And whenever that happens, I need to write to release. It's a release. I've written thousands and thousands of poems. Everybody has their release. Well, I started writing the book at, I was just like throwing, and I started reading and go, wait, this is anyway. So I rewrote it, and it's about the middle class, and it's about what are the things that are ill in what we do. The kings and queens used to call us peasants. Now we're called middle class. That's the only difference, because that same separation happens, and cultures, our societies have been around for 3 millennia. 3,000 years ago, the first cities came about. I guess that's pretty much it. I have always been very curious. I have always not been, actually, I've always been politically active. So I've always, those two things, you can see over time who's doing what, and if what they're saying is what they're actually doing. If you watch enough, with not just watch your favorite news channel that tells you everything you want to hear. That I watch them all, because I got grandchildren. This isn't about just saving us, and we have the tools to do it. And you know what? Once we do it, everybody around the world. Look at the people over in the UK, tens of thousands of people demonstrating, cheering on the things that Trump and Doge are doing. Here's the reason it's such a big deal. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be exposed, and that's going to roll all the way across the country, and then all the way across the world. And I'm thinking utopia is on the way, because AI is like running fast at us and slamming into us, whether we're ready for it or not. So I teach it, AI, and you couple that with a nation with its base built around what our forefathers envisioned. That is utopia. That is AI doing. I have AI that basically does everything for me. Books, sends emails. So we're teaching businesses now how to do that, but we have to get the right politicians in, because if the wrong people, the under the cover people behind the curtain, doing dastardly deeds, if they're going to affect it, or we're going to affect it. That's the difference between heaven and hell, right? We're in the middle right now. Are we going to get heaven, or are we going to get hell? Depends on who we have. That's what has kind of built this up for me. You asked how long I've been doing this, or involved in this. I've always been in business, and I've always been a little theatrical in my way, as you can tell. But as I get a little further along in life here, I start to see what's unfolding, and then I look over at my granddaughter that just turned 1 year old a couple of months ago, and a couple more on the way, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to get the AI thing, but the people that are leading now that are crooked, they're going to get more crooked. And are we going to be forced, I don't know, into unusual circumstances? Because at some point, nobody's going to have to work. So what happens then? Do they how does that structure? What does that look like? The cost of automation is getting so low and so efficient. Literally, I'd say within 2 decades, you can decide what and how you want to work, because it's just going to be, you're going to be telling robots and stuff what to do. I mean, Office, businesses already have entire maintenance departments all set up to automatically recharge, and everything's done through automation. So it's here, and it's going to be. Oh, there's producer Barbie and Rolanda. Okay, got a couple people. So here, I'm going to make it a little easier. Oh, Branson. Oh, you know what? This guy was on yesterday, and he said something like this, and I told everybody he was my new best friend ever in the world. Now look at him. He's come back on. He's screwing with me. Thank you, Branson. Sorry. All right, take over, buddy. I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, well, thanks. It is a vibe, isn't it? It's a really good vibe seeing this going on and talking like this. Yeah. Do you? I'm sure there are lots of concerns about the middle class. A lot of people are concerned about its shrinkage. Do you think it's shrinking, or are we at a point where we're seeing it start to go to a point where it's growing bigger?
Yeah.
Where do you see the middle class as far as growth goes?
That's a really, really good question. That's a really good, and it's a complex question. That's probably why it's really good, because we're in a different time right now, right? We're all this stuff's going on, and then on top of it, the COVID thing kind of shut down parts of the world. Sweden never shut down, never got sick. I mean, they had a couple sicknesses, but never shut down. So anyway, we have a fan base over in Sweden. This little, they're really exciting. They're very active. But anyway, when the COVID hit, and that generation of kids were coming up, and then years later, following, we're teaching that generation to not be very going after it. They grew up in society telling them to stay home, wear masks, and that's all they were allowed to do. And that result, that effect has a result, and it's created a generation. I mean, people aren't working nowadays. So you say poverty level. I think, well, anybody who's working is growing. They're above that part. There's very few outside of major drugs, psychotic issues. There's major issues that can cause, but there is hospital bills now that I'm getting concerned about for people, because that'll put you on the street. The hospital stuff's going nuts right now. And then that generation of kids, I see them living below the poverty line. They're going to live it as long as they can off their parents and all that, and the government. But after that, I'm concerned about the really older people with health, the cost of health, and you know how that is. That's crazy up there too, isn't it?
Well, we do have a lot of people think Canada is a utopian for the healthcare that we have, which basically they think, oh, it's free. No, actually, it's not. We do pay taxes for the healthcare that we get. Yep. Sure, we can go to a hospital, we can go to a doctor, get treatment, and not have to pay up front. But we do pay it in our taxes. And there are laws in Canada that say that really you can't have the kind of system that you have in the United States, specifically for that reason. I mean, it's a shame that it ended up getting to the point where violence is now occurring around this. I don't want to promote what happened with the CEO of that health company that
Oh my
got
God. Yeah.
got off. But I mean, it's just, that was just an awful thing. That should not have happened. But it's because people
No.
are so angry, even in the middle class, the great middle class, people are so angry at the idea that if I get sick, I'm going to be out on the street. My house is going to have to be mortgaged just so I can get well. And I think there's, I don't know, if I believe there's a reset in order that needs to be to be done here, so that we can grow the middle class and we can see its importance.
What's a
Continue.
reset look like? What does that look like when you're saying we need? What does that look like? Just
To
out of
me,
curiosity.
just a reset in the way we think about wealth and the way we manage wealth and the way we progressively share wealth. How that's going to be done is another thing. I'm no expert. I am not even a philosopher. I'm just a guy who does videos and works at a call center. But essentially, I think that there is that kind of reset needed. But there's better minds that are out there that are going to do this than I am. But I do think that is, and I think you got a good idea here, Rod, with the idea of maybe it's time to get the right people in. The question here that I'm seeing is, what have you learned from your journey as you go through all of this? What are you learning as you progress in your journey through
Oh,
understanding all this stuff?
dude, that was Chris, right? That's a freaking very cool question, and not because I get to talk more about myself, but it is a great question because I am a completely different person. Completely. I mean, the one on the screen right now, that's producer Barbie. She works on all the surrounding stuff of this show. Plus, she jumps on here periodically. So,
Hello, Barb.
hey, yeah, we gotta say hi.
Hi, Barb.
She's out in California, and the only reason I bring that up is because she's gonna beat me up on this a little bit probably after the show. But what have I learned? I have learned everything. I have learned what life that I have been listening. So I have learned now what if I was a different person, a real person, a person that didn't live behind a mask and do this. There's a whole background there that people know about on this show. I don't want to go all into it, but what I've learned is that the world is totally different than I thought it was. And what I mean by that, I've learned to become a better person out of this by a great deal. I mean, I was just that. What do they call toxic masculine? I was a toxic masculine male growing up and just eating off the fruits of the land and going out and doing things. And I was always very talkative to people. And I always asked questions because I didn't want them to ask me questions. Believe it or not, that's kind of how this all developed. And so the thing that I've learned is to be authentic, because I was never authentic. I mean, I was JR in my sales and my business, and everybody probably on here knows what I mean by that. That's my nickname. But once I became authentic, I really started to get into this show. I mean, during the book writing, I started Barbie and I started the show on Constitution Day last September. And so we were trying to do things. And then all of a sudden, I was able through her, you got to have the right people around you, right? Barbie, I was through her able to come through some things and realize this is who I am and who I need to be. That lesson to be who you are and who you need to be, to find your journey. There's a story. I should be dead. There's a lot of proof back there. Let me just put it that way. But that lesson, this has taught me a billion lessons. Am I missing? Oh, I skipped a bunch of them, didn't I? Or did I?
Well, I'm sure there's lots of other questions too.
Oh, there are.
There's tons of questions. And just so you know, we are doing a collab today. My name is Cliff. I am the host of a show called Zoomed In, Candid Conversations, is the blog or YouTube channel. It's actually Candid Conversations Zoomed In and Comments video channel. You can find it on the web. Just look me up, Cliff Tour, Tooher, and you'll see the channel and you'll be able to see what else I do. I also do a blog and I also do another podcast about call centers. So just to give you an idea of what we're about here. And today I'm with Rod on his show, Straight Talk, basically talking about the middle class and what we do. And the idea here, of course, is to share the story, give people the idea of who that person is. And that's a key factor in what I do with my content on my channel. So thanks for dropping in and giving these great questions to us because they are really cool. And I appreciate the thank you. It's great to know that people are enjoying what they're seeing. So please do subscribe to Rod's channel and of course my channel too. Look it up. You'll see all kinds of interviews. I've been doing it for about 3 years, just so you know, and we've had some very interesting people talking on it. So we're definitely on the roll and going upwards. That's the beautiful thing about it. And
it is.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with the way things are going. I mean, it could be always we
I saw a science one the other day that I think it was filmed a little bit earlier. It's on your Matchmaker FM, you know what we use.
Yeah.
It was the science. He was talking about atoms. Oh man, it was fascinating. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, I did interview a fellow by the name of Daniel Whiteson. He's a host, a podcaster. Yeah, he's actually a particle physicist. And he had a podcast called Daniel and Jorge Explore the Universe. It's no longer that. It's now he's got another co-host and he works with them. So yes, I also have a video called, there's one that's really big. It has about 31,000 views. It is called Rent the Chicken.
Wow.
Rent the Chicken.
Oh my God, you got to dive into that. What the hell is renting the chicken all about? Sounds cool.
This lady by the name of Homestead Jen rents out chickens to people, and it's mostly in the summertime that she does it. But what's really cool is that, and this is a great thing because this is a person who's in the middle class as well. Here she is doing her thing, running a business, and basically helping people get eggs in the morning. So the tip of the day is not eat the chicken, rent the chicken. And basically the idea is that they give you a coop with the chickens. You can name them as well. And basically those chickens will lay eggs for you in the summertime.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's cool.
That is cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure there's lots of other guests that are going to be coming on to the show as Rod goes along in this journey. Also, I have interviewed a documentary guy who did a show, a documentary called The Last House Standing. And, talking about building homes for the middle class and anybody for that matter, when we see where those homes are built in areas where tornadoes and flooding and stuff like that going on, it's just incredible. My brother
fires.
My brother actually builds stuff, and we've seen our situations where we've gone in and I felt them from time to time, and we open up a wall, we see Coke cans in there where the construction guys left. It's like, what are you guys doing?
No, I've seen that.
Nuts. That's just nuts. Why would you do that? So I mean, these are the kind of stories I tell on the channel. I even interviewed. Rod, have you ever heard the song "Whoop There It Is"?
Yep.
I interviewed.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
no kidding.
DC Glenn. Yes,
there is. Yeah, that's a cool beat, man.
Whoop, there it is. Yeah. So those are the kinds of things. So what our channel is really all about is doing what we're doing right now, talking to people. One-on-one interviews. That's all I do on the channel. I don't do anything else. I did have commentaries, but I'm now going to start doing shorts on interesting topics. I did one on police forces in Canada and the other on keys, but I'm going to put more shorts up in a little while. But getting back to what we were talking about with regards to the middle class.
Before you do that, before
Yes.
you do that, at some point, can you just you put it in the private? I don't know what technically. I mean, you are the host, but technology wise, you're a guest, and I don't know why you can't comment on the comment section. But see that on the sidebar, the little private chat, very lowest one.
Yes. Okay, hold on a second. So I'll
Put it in
put
there, and then in a little bit, I'll copy it and paste it over into the because what invariably happens is, you know, you've been doing this way longer than I have, but what invariably happens is somebody watches in a couple months and there's a question they have about something, or how, you know, they'll send me notes. How, you know, how does this work? You're the expert, so your
yeah. Well,
contact
actually, what I'll do,
information.
I'll actually get my link just to show you. I'll actually go to YouTube. I'll just actually go to YouTube, and I'll get.
Oh, right now?
Yeah, right now I'll get the link, and I'll. Show
gotcha. You're gonna copy it. I gotcha. The URL. So while we're doing this, Amy, thank you very much. I think you're talking. You know, it's hard to know if you're talking to me or my bro over here, Cliff. Love this guest. Who's coming on next? Can't wait. Who do you got coming up, Cliff? While you're doing that.
Well, right now there's a couple of videos that I'm doing that are being edited for broadcast. One is about what's happening with deportations with the Trump administration. I talked with a legal expert on that. Another is because there's a couple of them that are really interesting about how to what's the one that I just recently did? One on what not to do at a funeral. Yeah, believe it or not.
No. I interviewed somebody that was their thing. Like 3 months ago. She was awesome.
I actually started interviewing her, and all of a sudden, what happened was the video timed out, so we have to redo it. Later today, I'm doing one on animal brains. I think you did the one with the animal brains, right? The woman. I
did that too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The chemicals going on in their brain are similar when they're like that. What we do. So when they're attacking or they're doing this or doing that, she was relating the different activities. Mating is one thing, and it was really fascinating. So you're doing a second one with her now? Is that what you said?
I'm doing a first one with her at 3:00 this afternoon, Eastern time. It will not be live. These are recorded, just so you know. We record everything, and I put my link in the channel there, in the chat. What we do is we do a recording and then I edit. And there's about 12 of these I got to do. I got to really catch up here.
I hear you there.
I just did one with a kid. His name is Chris Level, and he was on LinkedIn. He got something like 10,000 views on LinkedIn, and he's actually a guy who did sync music for movies and such. Now he's going into the.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he's doing some music for himself now. So we have all kinds of things. There's also I did one too with an author of a book about the War of the Worlds. You know the guy who did the War of the Worlds?
Sure do.
Yeah,
love that.
I did an interview with him as well. Yeah. So there's
all kinds of. That is awesome. So I just threw that up for you. If you look in the comments, we've got some things going on here. Amy, we'll have to get back to your answer. Actually, Cliff just laid it out for you. Coming up for us is more AI and mental health stuff. Let me go back here. Let's get. Are you good right now? Is everything good?
Yes. I'm good. We're still hanging in there. Now there's a little bit that could, of course, as we go along. But yeah, absolutely. I think this is really good because what we need to do is really address the question of the middle class and talk about the importance of the middle class and where we want to get the middle class going. Do you think that the middle class is going to grow? Do you see it going forward with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that all depends on the economy. That all depends, you know, when the economy is strong, the middle class is healthy, and that's what grows the middle class. Um, when the economy is burdened, and small growth or no growth, which is that's depression, but that then you have the people falling out of the middle class, whereas the other situation, people are going up and building up in the middle class. The middle class is made up of people who are, millionaires, that have money, small businesses. My business did, $5-6 million a year, and we were working towards 12. We had a couple dozen people working here, but at that point, that's not a lot of money. I mean, millions of dollars of stuff floating around is really not a lot of money in today's thing. If you're building something, obviously, if I was making $5 million a year in my pocket and going home every day, that's a different story, obviously, but that's not reality, is it?
No, you look at even what regular guy or gal out there working in the so-called real world, making up here the top dollars like 25 to 26, 27 an hour, 28. You're still needing to basically, like I said, get somebody to be your roommate or do some other things that you need to do to basically get money, like a side hustle. My main job is working in a call center. That's what I do. I sit in a call center. I listen to people do silly things on their with their devices. Yeah, that's what I do. I'm a tech support guy, but it's wild.
You talk all day long, man. You get. I'm jealous. You get to talk morning to night. I only get to talk when I can find a guest on here. Hey, Ronaldo's got a great question here, and it relates to what you're talking about now. What do you think about Trump is not taking a paycheck? What do you think about that? And that kind of leads back, you talk about the people that are filthy rich that don't have to be. I mean, they're doing all this for nothing. And in the Elon's case, they're doing this because they love the country. In Elon's case, it's actually hurting his business. And if you ever watch interviews and that, but because everything's a lie, people are trying to make false. It's the Russia hoax all over again. And this is the new Russia hoax. And it's frustrating because it ain't about the political party. I don't care. Well, I want there to be a Democratic and a Republican party, or at least two parties, because you don't want one. That's for sure. But, I have always grown up with trust, but verify. And right now, the only thing I see any of them doing bad, I have to go into MSNBC or CNN's getting hammered now about that, because there's a lot of discussions that go out without facts. And you talk about what we're doing here. This is why we do this, because we want to talk to people and have those ideas that are honest and real that can really help. The politicians, the bulk of them are they're working for their party, not for. And I know this to be a fact. A friend of mine who was on the show was being touted. I don't know what the right word is, but to be our Congress representative in here in Naperville. And we were just talking about this on we had a meeting planning thing, and she told, they flew her out there, and then basically for 3-4 days they go through this thing about becoming because you work for the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, you don't work for the people in your district, and that is the horrible thing about politics. Is we said it earlier, all you do is really fundraise for money. That's it. What did the Democrats spend in the presidential race? $2 billion. Just that race. It's nuts. So anyway, what do you think about Trump not taking a paycheck?
I think that's an interesting thing to do. Certainly from the perspective of who he is. Now, I'll be straight with you. This guy is a multi-millionaire,
billionaire.
So yeah, he doesn't have to worry about taking that paycheck. So you're not going to see somebody like me become the Prime Minister of Canada, or much less the U.S. The president, because well, I'm not a citizen.
You could.
Well, no, actually, I'm not a citizen of the U.S.
I know.
You have to be naturalized. Yeah, you have to be a naturalized citizen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, a guy like me, I would have to, as you point out, do the fundraising to go there. So I kind of have to, give him that applause for, hey, you know what? At least you're showing a little bit of class here, or a lot of class, depending on who's looking at this, with respect to not taking that paycheck. That's a cool thing to do. To say, no, I'm not going to get the money from the taxpayer to pay for me as president. But some people still say that he's doing a lot of underhanded things, like getting the jet from Qatar and a few other things. And there's even been some stuff that's gone out on the House floor where, look at what Trump's done with all these deals and you're getting nothing. So there's still a lot of that debate out there. So what do I think of the guy overall? You know what? Time is going to judge Donald Trump. Time is going to judge him. The question is, I think for everybody in this, is what happens if the middle class fails? If it collapses on itself? That's my question.
The world collapses. The world collapses if that happens. And by the way, about the Qatar and the jet, should Lincoln be in trouble for accepting the Statue of Liberty from France?
No.
Those things have been going on. Those things have been going on forever. And it's not his. He doesn't need it. He's got a fleet of planes. It's a gesture from somebody who wants to do business with us because they're tired of being isolated in the Middle East. And that's the nature. I have people from Japan come over, and I had from Qatar come over in my old business, doing contracts and stuff. When they come over, it's their custom to give them a gift. Now, I get T-sats and from the guys in Japan and different little gifts, which are insulting to them if you don't take it. And imagine, the sheik, the main dude there giving you a jet, and of course, half the country's going to turn that around into something evil. I mean, I don't get how media gets away at presenting things the way they do, because it's totally slighted to whatever their party needs the people to believe. That's our nature of things today. This is turning into a totally political party, a political discussion, isn't it? Current events and politics, which I love. That's cool. But this is the thing. You're like my friend Barron. Barbie and I were talking about him yesterday. He's a historian buff. He's a history buff, a government history buff, and he's a progressive. He's a left progressive person, and he thinks that you shouldn't be allowed to have any money spent on fundraising. He believes you should take the money out of it, and this is actually a really good idea. Take the money out of politics, but each channel, say NBC, the different Fox, CNN, they give each person same amount of thing, and it comes out of the let's call it that budget, whatever. But now nobody has the way to buy people off that kind of way. Spend more money and get a job that they didn't really earn or deserve. deserve, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely begs the question of what's going on with regards to that. Campaign reform is
Oh.
definitely needed, and there's no doubt about that. Um, it is certainly an interesting time that we're living in, and I do hope that things will start to gel for the U.S. Particularly, I think that there's an old expression that's biblical: "A house divided against itself will fall." There's just too much division, and I think that I'm hoping that even here in Canada that we will start to see more unity. Doesn't matter whether you're left or right. Like myself, I try to be more to center than anything else. A little bit of the left, a little bit of the right, but um, I think that's really where we want to head, is trying to find that nice balance. Tricky business though to do, isn't it? Do you think yourself you've learned to find that balance in what you're doing with this journey that you're on?
Yeah, no doubt about it. This journey has shown a light on that, and to your point, great point. It is starting to come around. If you start looking, and that's what this show's about. I mean, we call it watch parties. Get your, first of all, you got to start off by waving to your neighbor again. I mean, that's if you listen to the end of our shows, every time hey, go out and wave to somebody, say hi to somebody, create a vibe that people want you to be in their space. You're positively affecting your energy. That's what we don't have. And that's when government takes off, because if you divide and conquer, then you don't have as much of a united voice, right? That's why we have all these little societal things, because that is a useful tool for people who want to lead and not have to answer, right? I mean, it's a type of leadership, and we're living in that. The thing that needs to be done is exactly what you said. We need to unite. We need to talk. We need to communicate, and we need to talk about what we don't talk about is politics, and we should. It's like, man, I wish, we need this or that. And you'll be amazed. The people aren't divided. I mean, go on social media, people of different cultures and backgrounds. And so they're saying, hey, don't take it. There's one that go, hey, white people. And it's a couple, they're like, we just want you to know that we like you, because forever, right? This group hates that group. This race is racist. That race is, and it keeps us divided. I think that, and shows like what you do, where you're bringing people on and having those discussions, and you get a couple hundred people around a point, and then asking questions down the road, you can start to see that coming together. There was one of the best commercials I ever saw was Coke. And it was in the 70s, and same thing was happening. We had that, the Vietnam was a very divisive thing, but it was, the interesting difference was you had the hippies and you had the conservatives, and, there were demonstrations and all that going on. It was very divisive, but what's really interesting about that, it was the diversity was against a war, was against an action that was being taken. The diversity you're talking about is developed, is on purpose, getting people, listen to the news. There's so much BS in how things are presented. That division keeps people not, it's like, here, look at the shiny object over here, when they're doing the dirty deed over here. Sorry. So that's the kind of thing that we're really up against. And do I think we can get through that? Yes. I mean, look at the growth of shows like yours, shows like mine, and the number of them. People aren't watching TV anymore. And thank God most of them are the younger generation that they need to be successful, or you and I are in big trouble trying to make it to 100 years old or whatever when we're not working anymore. We need that. We need the men,
Yeah, definitely. Well, I have to say it's been really interesting chatting with you. I think it's really awesome that we got a chance to do this and explore some topics here. I think that were really relevant. And I want to say thank you very much for letting me join you in your show to talk about
got
what you do and also share a little bit of what I do. My name again is Cliff. I am a host for a show called Zoomed In. It's on our channel, Candid Conversations, Zoomed In and Comments video channel. You can find us on the web. Rod's going to put it up on his YouTube. And basically you can click over and see the different interviews that I've done. There's more coming up on my channel, and I really want to say thank you very much, Rod, for taking time out and joining us and doing a live feed. This is really cool. I hope we get to do it again soon.
Yeah, me too. You have a good one. I'll if you don't mind, I'm gonna stay behind you here, and a couple of my friends are just asking little questions. So if you got a hard stop, you got a hard stop coming up, right? I mean, you're I mean, you do. You got a show coming up. You got a show
at 3 o'clock. But yeah, I can stick around for about 5-10 minutes, maybe 15 at the most.
Oh, do you want to stick around, or you want to just start getting ready? I can handle these guys. These guys, we harassed each other.
If people have questions for me, let them fire away and I'll answer.
All right, here we go. So let's drill through this pretty quick, because the one thing I don't want to do is not talk about their questions, and I always get in trouble for that. One time I accidentally turned off the chat. I had people texting me on the phone going, "Hey, what the hell?" Yeah. I can't ask my question. So Chris here has a question. Do you want to read them, or do you want me just to read them and we'll kind of chat about this?
Go ahead, fire away.
So Chris asked a similar question earlier up the comment row, let's call it, comment hill. Yeah, I have had a lot of self-doubt. He's reflecting back, I think, a little bit. We're talking about how becoming authentic. That was because I was never proud of myself. Tough upbringing, this and that, stuff going on. So how did I face it with self-doubt? Well, it's you guys. I mean, I need to have this therapy every day. You feel what I'm saying, Cliff? I mean, you got to have that release, and people talking to you. I've talked forever about machines and processes and all that stuff. But you know what? It's different when you talk to each other about life, about common things that we need, and it's critical. And so that doing that began, and I have a person, specifically producer Barbie, who is she calls herself my muse, and I agree with her sometimes, because she knows me better than I do, and she says stuff I don't want her to say because it's about me. But she helped me come through this, and facing that self-doubt. I still do. I mean, but you know what? Not about this. And that's why I don't do them. That's why I don't learn scripts, because I don't have to. That takes pressure off, man. I like to shoot from the hip, and that takes a lot of things a lot easier to handle,
Yeah, that's for sure.
You want to do that one? How do you stay grounded? Let me ask you that, Cliff.
How do I stay grounded? Well, I stay grounded by pretty much trying to keep to a healthy schedule, of work-life balance, making sure that, good food, good rest. And then, also one of the things I do, I'm a born-again believing Christian, so I do take time to pray.
Oh, yeah.
And
I pray every day. Talk to God. I talk to God every day.
Yeah, doing that is important to me, so I do that. And of course, I now have a new girlfriend, so lots of hugs and kisses from her help. Yeah, thank you. Lots of hugging and kissing from her helps.
That's what it's all about. You have somebody who's part of you, and that those hugs and that affection, that attention, that togetherness is what we thrive on as human beings. We're social animals, right?
Yeah, we sure
Great
are.
answer. Great answer. Let's see. Let's go back to Ronaldo here. This is one of my very, very close friends, digital friends. We've never met or talked, but she's very artistic. Awesome, awesome woman. Growing up the military family, did you have any military in your family, Cliff?
I do actually have military in my family. We also have one person who was a corrections officer for a while, but unfortunately, she witnessed a very traumatic event and left the field after one of her partners got shanked. She still works for Corrections Canada, but does other works in the forensics field. I have family history of military people. My brother was in the PPCLI. He was a soldier for a little while. Unfortunately, he was discharged due to some shenanigans. It happens. The other thing too.
I want to hear that story. We won't. But that sounds like a good story. I want maybe off camera we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you quickly, but yeah, essentially, the other thing too is that I have a friend of mine, Peter. He's a really good friend of mine. He's a former sergeant, really nice guy. He went over to Bosnia and saw some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He used to sat phone me every now and then. So I have military connections. The closest thing I ever did to the military is what you would call your junior Marines, where the high school students. We call it the Army Cadet, Navy Cadet, Air Cadet programs. These are from 12 to 18 years of age youngsters. About 60,000 in one, which is the Army Cadets. There's about 60,000 of them. And basically, these are cadet corps across Canada. My corps does not exist anymore. It went defunct. But our unit was hosted by the Canadian Grenadier Guards. I did 2 years. Now, I'm not a veteran. So, but
Right.
A lot of people who look at me and say, well, you were in the Army Cadets, weren't you? I said, well, you wore the uniform. Yeah, I did. But we are not veterans. Army Cadets are not. They can, at 16, they can join the armed forces as a militia or right force. But I couldn't because my eyesight wasn't that great. But a lot of people still consider what I did to be service to Canada. And I think the Army Cadets are, because they're part of the military ecosystem. I do believe they are essentially servants of Canada. They promote the community and such. That's their whole goal, is to be community leaders, and they're trained in how to train people. That's the course, is how to train people. So they're trained to be leaders. That's the whole point of it. And a lot of them, Mark Garneau, the famous astronaut, was an Army Cadet. So there's a lot of famous people that have come out from that. But that's the closest tie. Of course, family history too. I have family that were in the armed forces. So there's your answer.
All of my sons were in that program out here. It's called the ROTC. You go through a high school program, then you hook up. You can get into the police or continue down that. And it's you're building yourself too. I mean, you're supporting Canada or here U.S., but you're also building. It's like sports. You're building character and who you are. For Ronaldo's answer. In effect, well, it was positive in many ways in that I went to 3 different high schools. I went to 8 different elementary schools, a couple of different countries. And I've been to every state in the northern North America here, but, and I've lived in like 10 of them. So, it forces you to either commit suicide or get really friendly and curious about people and ask questions and make friends fast, because I didn't grow up with them. That's kind of the thing. But the other side of it is I've always been probably somebody who hasn't been able to plant a flag and build that character of having a home. My home was on the road. I love to drive. Maybe that's why, I don't know, but we were always on the road and or in an airplane. So Ronaldo, thank you for that. It's a great effect and pros and cons, All right. We're getting close here, brother. Got a couple more. Looks like 4 or 5 more here. What's next for Rod? Any exciting projects and plans? Can I answer this? Do you mind if I go after that one?
Yeah, so for me right now is to get the Candid Conversations zoomed in, monetized, and also my other podcast, which is strictly audio, which is called Tales from the Cube. It's about what it's like to work in a call center, and hopefully we're going to see that get also some audience. Right now we're up to about 800 subscribers on that channel on Spotify, and you can also find it on other channels as well. Was it Apple Podcasts? There you go. It's on Apple Podcasts as well. So we're getting there slowly but surely. But basically, it's monetization because in a year I'm going to basically step away from 20 years of working in the call center industry. What I'm finding, and I'd love to get a message out to people today, like you would say at the end of your show, say hi to somebody and wave. Remember, when you're calling a customer service rep, you're actually asking for their help. Swearing up and down at them and calling them names and such, when they've given you an answer that you don't like, it's not really the best way to go about getting a good resolution. We do need to be a little more politer. Yeah, we need to be a little more politer. So I would encourage people, if you're having a bad day, take a breath before you call your cable company, your phone company, or a company that helps you with your phone or whatnot. And remember that these people are doing procedures and doing things in their job that they didn't make up. It's the company that made it up. So you got to understand when they're telling you something, it's from the company perspective. It's not them themselves that is doing it. And to have a little bit of empathy and respect for the person on the other end of the line. The last thing I would say about that is, particularly if you're talking to ladies on the phone, they're not interested in your question about what color underwear they're wearing. Leave that off the phone call.
Yeah. Really? That happens?
Oh, yes, it does happen. Yes, we do get them.
Ooh, wow.
I've gotten questions, not like that, but I once had a guy ask me.
I wanted to ask you, did anybody ask you what color your underwear is?
No, nobody's asked me what color my underwear is, but I have been asked what my dress size is.
Whoa, no kidding.
No kidding. I have actually had people ask me what my dress size is.
Wow. There's some wackos out there, isn't there?
We get them on Earth, but we call them tinfoil hats in the industry because of that. I mean, we've had people say that the Martians are in my phone, or Trump is watching me with spy cams, or things like that. Yeah, we do get them. We do get them. But the biggest thing is when you buy something online, particularly on the Google or Apple Play Store, just a little pro tip for you is a final sale. So you may not get your money back if you screw it up. Just so you know, just accept the answer, go on with your life. You're going to be okay. But calling us names and calling us shitheads and stuff like that, not a cool thing. And eventually, we're just going to say, "Well, it's been nice chatting with you. Here's your case number. Goodbye." And we do it. We do hang up on people. So, not a nice thing to do, but I have done it dozens of times, Rod, where I've had to say to a person, "We're done here. Bye-bye." So I do it. I will hang up on somebody who's being nasty and making stupid comments and asking weird questions like that. That's for sure. After a while, I'm done.
Crazy. Yeah. I'm going to add to your there. I think Cody was on our show a month and a half ago or so, but he's asking what's next in similar plans. So we're rolling out. I talk about all the automation that we talk about on the show and do on the show. We've created what's called School, SKOOL. If you know that platform, there's a number of them out there. But and we have a class that we're building content for that takes people who don't know automation, AI, that don't know that, and we're taking them up through the ability to use it to make their lives better. So that's a thing we're rolling out right now. I'm just finishing one of the last automations. I had to run in here to do this awesome thing because one, it should be done, but more importantly than that, it's a lot more fun than building a freaking automation. Let me tell you. So we're rolling out. We're rolling that out. Right now, I'll update you guys. Cody, thank you very much for this question, but I'll update you next week. But right now, we're shooting for 2 weeks from now to start rolling it out, and people coming in. There's a class where we have recorded, like you say, you record your things in cinema. We're recording. Barbie and I've done a couple of them already that started off, and then it gets a little more advanced and showing you the automations. And then we have a community, because I do a coffee hour every Friday. Usually I do. I did it yesterday this time, but it's an open chat, just open. What questions do you have? But in that one, we don't have in the school classroom, we don't have the questions. It'd be more like a Teams meeting or a Zoom where everybody's camera is on, and we go that way. So I'm excited about it. I don't know how it's going to go, but as much as people are involved in needing that information, it's a great thing. What's one moment from the show you will always remember? You know what? I'm gonna not answer that question, Damien, because Cliff's gonna answer. What are you gonna take away from the show that you really enjoyed? One moment, right there. Damien wants to know.
The moment I think is it's the whole experience. It's the moment for me. It's like the idea of having a conversation that flows. It's that the moment you've clicked in and you're having a good conversation with somebody, particularly in an interview, because you want to. I've done interviews where it's just like, oh my God, it's trying to pull teeth out. Where interviews like this one, it's just like it just flows so nicely, and that's the thing. And I just recently had an interview with a guy that was like that as well. He was talking about credibility, and it was just so nicely. It flowed nicely. It was like what we are doing, so it wasn't as scripted. Sometimes I will admit I've had a few interviews that I've done even on our channel. It's like, yeah, this kind of sounds too scripted. So when a conversation flows, that's the moment for me.
Yeah, it's 100%. And people learn better that way. You put a couple giggles and smiles and chuckles and guffaws in that conversation. You just said it. Sometimes if you approach it as a conversation, it's a conversation. It flows around in and out. If you have an interview, you're asking the question to the expert, and then the expert, answered it back. That's harder to learn that way because you get into a monotone thing. I learned this from sales in that you gotta move in, you gotta move out, you gotta keep people's attention folding into it. That's how people learn, right?
They sure do. Yeah. I see Barbie's got her hand up there. I don't know.
She's waving. She's got a little wave. I don't know how they do this, but there's a couple people that have got that down, and they every once in a while throw a wave in there. How did Rod prepare for the challenges in his field? You want to take that? Last question, my brother. The rest is your information.
Okay, so basically, for me, I'm a former broadcaster as well. I did work in radio for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, from 1990 to I was mostly college radio, which up here is basically more of a less volunteer work. So I did a lot of that, but I also worked for the
everywhere.
Yeah, I did work for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I was what's known as a group for tech. So my job basically was to go in a studio that's as big as the room that's behind me here, if not bigger, and sit behind a board that was massive. And what I would do is I'd run the board while the announcer was on the other side and the producer was on my left. So the producer had the script. I would have a copy of the script. We would have one tape. What's called the hourlies, and I'd run that for an hour. I trained, and then I did the show for the summertime.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I have worked for a station here in Hamilton, CFMU, college radio station, and I was a producer for a year, show about disabilities. That's what I did. So that's how this prepared me. So this is my first, technically my second love. My first was wanting to be in the military. I wanted to be a soldier, but couldn't do that. So my second was radio, and radio got me into call centers. So that's been my career for the last 20 years. So that's how I know how to do all this, because I know how to talk. And you learn people really quickly, you know.
Have to. Yeah. Great. I love hearing those kind of stories, because how do people, what's their journey? You know, what you are today is made up of every reaction or action or thing that you were exposed to in life. And the more you can, like you said, be curious, you know, more you can find out about stuff, the better life is. Well, I'll tell you what, brother, why don't you give us a big wave goodbye? I got to close it out. And you got a lot of fans, so like you said, let's circle back around and do this again, my bud.
Yeah, definitely. We will want to do that again. I think this would be a cool time to talk about doing that in the future. Definitely would be something I'd like to try. And yeah, maybe once a month or something like that, we could get together again and do this. That would be a fun thing to do. My name again is Cliff. You can find my channel, Candid Conversations, zoomed in the comments video channel. There's the link, and you can go there and see all the videos that I have on there.
What's that link? That
GPL
link? 3. Yeah, what's that?
That's actually the link to the channel. That's
okay.
Right to the channel. It should.
Okay, gotcha.
Try for yourself. You'll see it should go to the channel. But gotcha. You can just look up Candid Conversations zoomed in and comments video channel. You'll find it there, and then you'll see all the videos. And I want to say thanks to Rod for letting me kind of take over a little bit. But it's been fun.
It has been fun. Thank you, Cliff. We'll talk soon.
All righty. Take care.
Bye. Say bye to everybody. All right. So there we have it. That was a fun show. And it was very educational, and it's you know what? This was, for me, probably one of the funner shows, because it's interesting to listen to the thought that is developing the question that's coming to you, and it makes it a lot. This was a really chill show, which is always fun, because everybody gets more out of it that way. So what's next? So we've got Memorial Day weekend. I do have 2 meetings on Monday, Memorial Day. That is the 3-year anniversary. That I got to make sure I'm right about that, Barbie. Is it 3-year anniversary? I got my motorcycle accident and broke every bone on the left side of my body. And my bike was bent in half a Harley. I went through the windshield, got nailed by somebody, and rolled down the freeway for a minute. Was in the hospital 3 months and all that. That's coming up on Monday. This time I'm going to swim some laps in the pool. So, you know, this is, as you guys know, this is Insights and Straight Talk. Producer Barbie was on there, is here. Obviously, she was throwing some cool stuff out there. Rolanda and I are talking about maybe doing some stuff where, you know, like reading the text and doing some replies, so we can make that more smooth, right? Great idea. You and I talked about that a little bit ago, and you know, we're just going through the day. I'm going to probably take off a little early today, relax for a long Memorial Day weekends, and all that really means is I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.